Hi, and thanks for joining me. This is the sixth and bonus episode of Echoes of Curiosity. 3 episodes in February, the shortest month, and I'm already going off course and saying, hey, let's go ahead and do an extra bonus episode. So that might be the case with the upcoming months as well. Anyway, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you have taken some time out of your day to enjoy some time with me, and I do hope it's enjoyable. I wanted to continue talking about A Course in Miracles, and if by chance you didn't get a chance to view the last episode, episode number 5, it's where I introduced my introduction to A Course in Miracles and how that all unfolded at the tender age of 20 years, and I was very, very excited to find this incredible literature. So I'm going to take a softer approach tonight, and I'm going to talk about some of the experiences I had with A Course in Miracles after I was introduced to it, and in that long period of time between my early introduction and to the present day. So I want to take a short break just so I can get my act together, and then I will delve into this. And I'm very curious, not just curious to delve into it, just ad-libbing, all along the way, but also I'm curious about your reaction to it. So please drop a comment if you feel inclined to do so. I'll be right back. I would really like to begin by sharing the introduction to A Course in Miracles. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. When I first read those words at 20 years old, I deeply felt they were true. But I wasn't really ready to live them. No, not at that time. I was on the verge of adulthood. I wanted to experience life. I wanted to live very much in the ego for a moment, if you will, because that's where I think a lot of 20-year-olds are. It's like, okay, let me experience everything that I can with this life. It's new. I'm an adult. I'm free in many respects. Many people are free at that age to chart their own trajectory, to experience life sometimes for the first time on their own. Entering new careers if they've either graduated college or soon to graduate college. Wasn't my case as a college dropout, but I'm not going to digress there. I did cover a lot of that in the last episode, so I again hope that you are able to watch that. But it's where I want to begin today. This is really about the mystery of timing, and with the way certain ideas wait for us. And they will wait for us until we're actually ready to receive them. honestly, at the time that I was introduced to the course, I really felt like someone had just handed me the secret of the universe. It had that much impact. It was that profound. It was just that mind-blowing. I believed it. I knew it was real. And I knew it offered peace. But I also knew I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for living that. Even though I was assured that this would bring me peace, I still wasn't ready. The Course has an interesting origin story of its own. It was scribed, as it is often recounted. It was scribed by a psychologist who was on staff at the Columbia University School of... I've got to look that one up. The Medical Psychology at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons. Her name was Helen Schuckman, and she was working for and with a man who she had been working with for 7 years before this material came to her. This man's name was William Thetford. So Helen and Bill had what many people describe as a contentious relationship, a contentious working relationship. This was in the mid-1960s when the material first came through her, and she attributed the voice that she heard to Jesus. And it was kind of an inner dictation that was going on. She kept her notes in a shorthand notebook, and she would receive the messages on a given day, and then the next day, before embarking on their work day, she and Bill would get together and she would read these notes, and he would then type them up on the old school typewriter, and it was compiled over several years, from I want to say 1965 to 1973 or 1974. I'll have to look that up, but I know that it was a long process, and it turned out to be not one book, but three volumes, which the first one came as the text, the second came as a workbook for students, the third came as a manual for teachers, and it was eventually published in 1975 or 1976 for the first time, and that original publication was the 3-volume set, which I have, and I believe I showed it to you in this last episode number 5. I'm holding what is available now. In most cases, this is what you will find in a bookstore if you should order the hard copy online. And I should also mention that the digital copy is available for free through a organization called the Foundation for Inner Peace, who are the official publishers of these volumes now. And I am going to share their website in my notes section for this episode. So please do check that out. If you'd like to start looking at it immediately, you can look at it digitally for free. I want to give some context about. Oh, let me let me first show you what this looks like. This is kind of worn now because I've had it for a few years, but this is the combined copy, which is all 3 volumes of A Course in Miracles and some supplemental materials that I think are really wonderful additions to this. So this is the publication from Foundation for Inner Peace, and you can find this in most larger bookstores, and of course it can be ordered online. But anyway, I wanted to give some context about my life at 20 and where I was mentally at the time, because look, that was a time of not just finding out about this wonderful material that existed, that I really grasped in some ways, that I recognized as truth. And I also was just out of my teenage years, ready to live life. There's so many ways I could describe this, but I think all you would have to do is think back to when you were 20 years old and just imagine that and realize that's that feeling that you may have had at 20, as many 20-year-olds experience. I mean, that feeling is what I had at that time. I started dating then because I thought that's what I needed to do, what was expected. And I was discovering my sexuality, my sexual orientation. I'd been aware of it by this time for a few years, but I did not have much experience with dating by this time. Had a few short-term relationships, but they were just kind of, how can I put this? They were exploration relationships. I guess that's the best way to put it. But I did start dating seriously. Finally, I did start dating, and I thought that I chose a person that was, I don't know how else to put this, somebody who I was in love with or thought that I might be in love with. And it was the first of several relationships that weren't about love at all. They were they were very ego-driven and very wow, it's interesting to think about how words come to me. Very ego-driven and very sloppy. I was not ready for a relationship. No, I think that's a pretty good description of my now thoughts about where I was at that time. I certainly wasn't ready for committing to a long-term relationship, which I did, but it was, 1, not very long, and 2, certainly not a commitment, not in any sense of the word. So inside I was grappling with my sexuality, and acceptance still. I still probably had some acceptance issues going on at that time too. And that confusion, it spilled into everything. It spilled into everything. My choices, my relationships, the way I saw myself. It was nice to have the Course to escape that noise from time to time. And I had it. And I knew that I could go to it. But was I living those principles? Was I experiencing what A Course in Miracles tells me is my natural inheritance? No, I wasn't. I only had moments of experiencing that. And I went in many different directions in regards to exploring spirituality. I even dabbled with, I guess, a kind of agnosticism for a while. And in addition to that, I was also at that time introduced to drugs. And I will say that mostly drugs at that point were a social buffer for me, an introvert who didn't feel comfortable in his own skin. And I thought the drugs were a way for me to fit in with my contemporaries. And at that time, I was, with a group of people who were drug users, and I just used them as well. And it was a lot of drugs, a lot of different drugs, and that's something that I think of often when I think about those times when things, even in my memory, aren't so. If I didn't have my journals to go back to, I really believe that I wouldn't have much memory of some of those experiences. And trust me, it wasn't glamorous. Anybody who talks about drug use as glamorous in any way, shape, or form, no. At least that wasn't my experience. And it wasn't rebelliousness either. I think that it was just another way to quiet the noise inside. My earliest attempts at relationships, that was reflected in that confusion. I made bad choices. We all do at some point. I'm sure you can think of a few, if not at least one. And, that's just part of life. It's part of growing. The truth of that period was that I was trying to build an identity while simultaneously trying to outrun parts of myself that I didn't yet know how to hold. And that's an important factor here. I really think that that's what was going on at that time. So the course felt true, but I wasn't prepared to live with that kind of honesty and discipline. I sometimes wonder if I'm still ready to live with that kind of honesty and discipline. I set the course aside not because I doubted it, but because I wasn't ready to live it. So it was on my shelf for years. It came off the shelf when I needed inspiration from time to time. And I have to say, at the same time, I was discovering other spiritually centered literature, books that were about the spiritual journey. So I came into contact over the years with many, many volumes of books that were classics in their own right. And a lot of them really did align, and I'll include Holy Scripture with this. A lot of them really did align with some of the principles in A Course in Miracles, and really much of it enlightened me as well. I just never found anything, to be quite honest, I never found anything that was entirely comparable to the Course. So it stuck. It definitely stuck. And it reappeared. It reappeared in my life really in a big way just a few years ago. And when I say a few years ago, maybe it's 5-6 years. Actually, I want to say that it brought me a lot of comfort upon the passing of my mom. And that happened actually in 2018, early 2018 in January. And I remember quite clearly going to the Course for healing words it's really hard to describe without sharing some of those actual words, but you can open the course to many parts where just a feeling of, I should say, I could open the course to many different parts where the feeling of inner peace really comes into focus, and it's based just on the words. It's the words. Those are what really matter. Since to contrast this second encounter or this second revelation of the course in my life with the first one is really, I think, where the miracles begin. They were always there, but the miracles of recognizing once again the feeling that I had when I was first exposed to this incredible material. Kind of like, oh, it's you again. In a good way. Things that just suddenly felt alive in me. And I can pinpoint exactly when the real stuff started to happen. I don't know what other word to use, but stuff. I was actually in California, and I was dog sitting for my godmother, and I had been exploring online the course again. I was looking for some community, some sense of community, and this was what is it? I want to say 22. So there was still some pandemic stuff going on, as I can remember wearing masks, and I can remember wearing them on the flight, etc. And anyway, long story short, I contacted the facilitator of a Course in Miracles study group here in Atlanta, and I did that while I was there, and had this long phone conversation with her, and then I started to actually, when I returned to Atlanta, I started to attend these weekly learning sessions, and I was thrilled to be, even though they were conducted via Zoom. Again, that also began, according to the facilitator of this group, during the pandemic, and it just kind of stayed that way. It's still ongoing, and I still attend, but it's just nice to be in a virtual room, even with a group of people who are all on this same journey. And again, unlike an organized religion, the nice thing about A Course in Miracles is that it simply can't be organized, and it's designed that way, and I love that about it. I absolutely love that about it. Were there things that didn't land before that landed this time? Of course. I mean, my vocabulary expanded, for one thing, and I also had a different outlook on life, egoic life, that was definitely lived, because a lot of it was in the rearview mirror. Speaking of mirrors, there was a recognition that this thing I'm holding now is not a book, really. It's a mirror. It's a mirror, and that's another revelation. It's another revelation. So the early ideas that took root were actually just revisited again. The early ideas that took root were revisited again, and those early ideas were definitely that perception is not truth. Perception is not truth, and there's a huge shift from fear to love, and that forgiveness is a way of seeing. And I know I hinted about this the last episode, because forgiveness is a huge, huge part of the Course, and it's defined in a much different way than what traditional Christianity has taught. There's also the quiet presence, that quiet presence of the inner teacher, and that is something that was, again, it was like, oh, it's you again. I knew you were there all along. Guide me, I need that guidance again. What's the other thing I'm thinking of right now? Yeah, I guess the best way to say it is what happened was that it came alive in me again. It came alive in me again. And and I felt those excited feelings again. So and only this time I was closer to 60 years old, and I'm feeling those same feelings of wonder and utter joy and peace of mind. That component is a big one as well. The course really softened. It softened and directed my inner landscape. I can say that about this most recent experience with it. It continues to influence this next chapter of my life, and I'm so glad I have it along for the journey. And as you can see, and as I've discussed on some previous episodes, it's just one of many different spiritual resources in the in the shape of books, in the shape of podcasts, people that I meet. All of these things are interwoven now, and the course just complements them and gives me a kind of a grounding to go back to. I hope that makes sense. The unfolding relationship continues, and I have to think back about those younger days, about the 20-year-old Thomas, the 20-year-old Tommy, because they still called him Tommy then. That at that time, it was a remembering. It was that I remembered something that was always there and had only just been obscured for a many number of years. And so at 20, I'm like, hey, this is a treasure. This is a gift. So it wasn't then like a great conversion type experience. I guess I need to clarify that, because the conversion of, for example, I think about spiritual masters, advanced spiritual teachers throughout our history. And of course, the first one that comes to mind with my upbringing as a Christian, as a Catholic, is Jesus Christ. And when I think about, and it's interesting that I'm recording this on Ash Wednesday, and I'm thinking, because that's the beginning of Lent in the traditional, in the Catholic Church, and well, in a few other church traditions as well, Lent is observed. And this period of Lent, of course, is reflected in the time that Jesus spent in the desert. And if you recall, he was, as it's portrayed through the Gospels, he was tempted by the devil, and the devil was in essence saying, here, I offer you the world, or you can, go ahead and do what you're intending to do, but here's the world. And we all know what choice Jesus made, and it wasn't the world, at least not the world as we see it. He made a deliberate choice to go the spiritual path, and that path in my mind is leading back to the Father. That's how he parlayed this information. And I think that I think about that as a conversion experience, or Or think about Paul, the conversion. That's far more dramatic, I guess, in some ways. As he supposedly fell to the ground and was temporarily blinded, and the voice of Jesus spoke. So it was. These are instances, at least in the Christian tradition, where that conversion is pretty dramatic, at least the way it's recounted. So I didn't see that happening in my 20-year-old experience with A Course in Miracles, and I didn't see it happening again with my recent revisiting of A Course in Miracles. And I think that has some weight. That has some weight because I guess a part of me doesn't want to put myself in that category, where I had a conversion experience and now I'm this, because I don't know how else to put this, but I'm not yet converted. I'm not converted, but I am remembering. I'm remembering who I am and what I am. And what is that? I'm glad you asked. I'm love. Your love. I'll be back in just a sec. So what is it about forgiveness that's so different in A Course in Miracles? That question is one that I'm going to have some difficulty answering, and it's why I expressed some hesitation during the last episode to explain this, because it's so flipped from what the traditional Christian idea of forgiveness is. But I thought, what better way to at least try to explain it a little bit than to share some actual passages from the Course. So maybe close your eyes if you want to and listen to this. See if it resonates with you. Or just listen and watch me read. Practicing forgiveness. Ask not to be forgiven, for this has already been accomplished. Ask rather to learn how to forgive. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing He did not create is real. In this one sentence is our Course explained. What could you want forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness? A quiet mind? A certainty of purpose? And a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and the warmth of sure protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that never can be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. In complete forgiveness, in which you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. Forgive the past and let it go, for it is gone. Lift up your eyes and look on one another in innocence, born of complete forgiveness of each other's illusions. Those you do not forgive you fear, and no one reaches love with fear beside him. Forgiveness always rests upon the one who offers it. Forgiveness takes away what stands between your brother and yourself. It is the wish that you be joined with him and not apart. Forgiveness is the answer to attack of any kind. So is attack deprived of its effects, and hate is answered in the name of love. Now I could go on with this, but let me boil it down. Forgiveness isn't about, oh, you did something wrong to me, I forgive you. I absolve you. Let me move on. Forgiveness in A Course in Miracles in interpretation, if you will, is I forgive you because this stuff that I'm thinking that you did to me never really happened. Never happened. Because this world that really does need forgiveness isn't real. Let me repeat that. This world isn't real. This world that I see with my body's eyes. It's some really, really heavy stuff. And I say that because I guess I still look at it as heavy stuff. But it's there. It's there for you to explore if you want to. And there's so much out there in regards to resources. There are plenty of people who've written about the Course through the years. I introduced the book that introduced me to the Course back in episode number 5, which was Love is Letting Go of Fear, which, I had a copy of it here, but that's the book by Gerald Jampolsky. It really does a wonderful job of explaining in short, compact form what the Course really is all about. And boy, the name of that book, I'm telling you that there couldn't be a better name. Love is Letting Go of Fear. Love is letting go of fear. I mean, fear really does still have an important and no, I don't want to say important. That's not the right choice of words. Fear still has significance in my life. I don't think that it will go away until I'm through with this body. I really think that as long as I'm strapped with an ego, fear is going to be in some form, in some way, affecting my life. But it's about, at this point, really minimizing that fear and even getting to the point where some days I can almost completely eradicate it. So those are they sound like lofty goals, but they really are some goals that I've met from time to time, and especially in recent years. And there's an expression that's used in the Course, throughout the Course, and it comes up time and time again. And there's a lot written about it, actually, and it's this phrase called the holy instant. The holy instant. And what the holy instant is, at least for me, the way I understand it, is while I am here in this body and seeing this world with my body's eyes, hearing with all of these senses, all these physical senses that I have that really don't go away until this body goes away, that ability to recognize that is not who I am at any time. Anytime that happens, that's a holy instant. And the very idea that they use the word instant, it says something. Because, I mean, I've had them, and they are just instants. They're not, and I say that in the plural, instants. I wish I could extend them sometimes, but those experiences are ethereal. They're profound. Many of my meditation experiences recently have resulted in this kind of holy instant experience. So It's an unbelievable thing. I've got a couple more things to share, but I'm taking a quick water break, and then I'll be back to talk a little bit about the next episode. I'd like to leave you with this. And everyone has their own kind of second arrival moments. Moments when something that resonated at one point in their life comes back again, maybe in a different way, maybe in a more gentle way, maybe sometimes it comes back in a very dramatic way. But I'd be interested in hearing about that and discovering what's alive in you, that may be something that you experienced once before, and here it is again. And it's something that brings comfort and happiness, joy. I absolutely thank you, and I want to express a lot of gratitude for your curiosity and companionship during this time when I'm talking about something that I'm deeply deeply moved by, and I'm glad that I was able to share it. Sometimes something that returns to us, it's not to repeat itself, but it's to reveal itself. And these thoughts about A Course in Miracles that I would love to explore further in future episodes are part of that. And I'm just, again, I'm thrilled to share it with you. Thinking about the next episode, which will be episode number 7, I'm hoping to do it sometime the first week of March, or at least put it out there the first week of March. Really would like to talk about another book, and I've got one in my mind, but I haven't yet made the final decision on sharing this book. But I'm looking forward to whatever I decide to see you for my next episode. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, feel free to do that. Or if you just want to drop back by for a visit again, I'm thrilled that you might think that would be an option as well. And then the other thing is if you know anybody who might want to explore and join me on this journey of curiosity, I'd be thrilled as well. But I just absolutely love you. I think that's the thing that I need to convey with this episode. I love you, and I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are at this time, and who is watching this in this very moment. But I can say this, and it's because of the Course that I can say this. I love you. See you next time.